Hello fans and friends across the universe. Welcome to my YouTube channel From Me to You. My name's Keir Smith. For today's video, I wanted to share with you a really cool story that I heard the other day. So I was at work the other day and I was listening to the Rockonteurs podcast on YouTube. This is a show hosted by Gary Kemp and Guy Pratt. Gary Kemp of Spandau Ballet fame, he was their guitarist and main songwriter. He wrote all of their hits. And Guy Pratt, who is a very well respected session musician and a fine bass player. He's played with so many acts: Madonna, Brian Ferry. He was most notably Pink Floyd's touring bassist and backing vocalist for their A Momentary Lapse of Reason and the Division Bell tours. And most recently, both Gary Kemp and Guy Pratt both tour as part of Nick Mason's Saucerful of Secrets band, Nick Mason being the former drummer of Pink Floyd, of course. But I really enjoy the podcast that this pair do. They've done some really interesting and extensive interviews with some great artists like Noel Gallagher, Johnny Marr, Jim Kerr, Stuart Copeland, Mike Rutherford, Nick Mason, and many others. Anyway, I'll get to the story now. So I'm listening to this podcast and I see this particular interview. This one's less than half an hour, a special, if you will. And it's Guy Pratt interviewing Gary Kemp about the 40th anniversary of Spandau Ballet's True album. And this interview was from around about 4 months ago. The True album was released on the 4th of March 1983. And so they're talking about the album. They're talking about the songs, how they were written, where they were recorded, etc. Usual stuff. And Gary Kemp's talking about how his writing was influenced by the great soul singers like Al Green and Marvin Gaye. As the conversation continues, you can hear Guy pushing Gary towards talking about the big hit single, the #1 single from the album, the title track, True. And Guy says to Gary, you can hear the Al Green influence there. And Gary agrees, saying that, yeah, you can hear it in the chord sequence of the song. But then Gary says, I remember when I wrote it, I remember the exact thing that inspired me. And he went on to say that he was at home and for some reason the Let It Be film was on. He also said that there was a moment when Paul McCartney let that film out, and I'm not sure what he meant by that. He didn't expand on that any further. Maybe it was down to Paul whether the film could be shown or not. I'm not sure. But that's by the by. Anyway, he's watching Let It Be and he sees John performing Dig a Pony, and he hears him singing that dig a pony. And he said, I love the way that John took that one simple word, I, and snaked it around melodically. And he turned that into ha 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 ha. I know this much is true. And he said that that was totally from John and referred to it as a direct passing of the baton from the Beatles. But that story made me smile, and it made me think once again how great the Beatles are and how great and widespread their influence is. And immediately I thought I need to share this with as many people as possible. And great credit to Gary Kemp, of course, for taking that bit from Dig a Pony and turning into the monster hit that was True. #1 in the UK, #4 in the US. Huge song, and a beautiful song at that. But who'd have thought it? Spandau Ballet's True came from Gary Kemp sat watching the Beatles' Let It Be film way back in 1982. But there you go. I hope that short bit of singing that I did wasn't too off-putting. Thanks for watching. See you next time.